Hello, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Gutierrez, and I am the owner for OTW, which stands for Our Team Works. We are an organization that provides support groups to our community for the development of social, emotional, and mental well-being. We provide groups here in West New York, New Jersey, and we bring people together with licensed therapists to really give them that mental wealth, and we work together for the success of one another. We are hosting a special series called the Empower Hour, where we bring individuals from our community that are practicing therapists and are providing this mental wealth to our community. We talk to them, we have a little interview about what's going on in their life and what's going on in our world, and we really get that mental wealth from them. Today I bring back a very special friend, an individual, a colleague who has been here for a while now, really providing services for North Hudson, and her name is Veronica Olivares. She is the owner for Creative Psychotherapy LLC, an amazing licensed clinical social worker. Veronica, how are you, Veronica? Thank you so much for joining me once again.
Yes, I had to come back. Our last interview was bomb. So
Yeah.
I had to come back.
If you could tell our viewers, what is it that you do, a little bit about your company?
So creative psychotherapy is really wanting to merge creative arts with therapeutic tools as therapeutic tools. And my focus is specifically working majority with women and youth. So children, teenagers, young adults as well. And really allowing and helping women to access their creativity, because we are creators. We create, we make things, and I think that as we heal, we get more and more connected to our gifts. And I really want to encourage us to connect in that way that is, healing. It's also, really tapping into our emotional health, our mental health, and that's a very short version of what I do.
Nice. Yeah, there's a lot of things that you are able to provide to our community, and thank you for all that. You are hosting a holistic journey for emotional wellness, mind body cycles for women. Very excited to kind of bring that to the community. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and what is it? What's your goal in providing that for women of our community?
So my goal really is for women to really have a healthy and a real relationship with their emotional life. I think that we talk a lot about mental health. We talk a lot about sorting through thinking. We talk a lot about mindset. But for women, emotional wellness is a very separate topic. And I think that it's not accessed enough. It's been very elusive for the most part. And I really began studying this concept. I want to say in 2016, 2017, I started my support groups for women. I have also kind of like transitioned in my own learning, and have developed it over time, but really learning that emotions was such a huge part of our healing process, and that I wanted to find a way to tap into that felt safe, that felt healing. And so it's been my focus really in these groups. And we do this by looking at it holistically, because we are holistic. I think that it's really hard to not look at us in a holistic way. Our food impacts our mood, our bodies, our level of exercise, our movement. All of these things are part of our emotional wellness. And so I made kind of like a crash course of information that has helped women identify why they are feeling certain ways in different times of their life. What are some tools that they can use to to access that, to be connected to that, to grow in a healthy relationship with that, and then finally to really do some subconscious work, reprogramming, so that we can build a bridge between where we were, where we have been, and where we want to be. And Definitely can't be done in only 3 months, but this is definitely a great start. So
Nice. Wow. Great. Amazing. So I just heard you say the group is going to be for 3 months,
yes.
right? And it's geared to women specifically. Can you tell me a little bit about, and we can start here. What's the focus of support groups and why is that for you? Why is that something that works?
Woo. So I will say that when women come together and share intentions of growth and healing, it is like magical. You know, I have seen women come to these groups and not even know each other, be strangers, and support each other. Ooh, that gave me chills. Support each other in our own individual goals as a collective. And I have seen women get into better relationships, get out of toxic relationships, get out of toxic jobs, get into better jobs, start their, you know, their side hustles, their passions, because they were supported by women. And it's prayer. You know, this is ancient stuff here. We've been doing this since the beginning of time, and really reminding us that that is who we are. We, you know, if you even think about our menstrual cycles, when women live together, our cycles usually connect. And to me, that has always been a indicator that we're meant to work together. Like we're meant to be ebbing and flowing together, you know what I mean? And the world has really conditioned us not to be.
It's so powerful, and I think even as our organization with OTW, we solely focus on support groups, and the concept of collaborative learning is powerful in our field. And the way that I see it is you could do work alone, right? But I always say this. I say, and I say this to my clients, and I'd love your feedback on this. You know, I always say when we're born, we're not born alone, right? Our mom is there, our dad is there, our family's there, the hospital's there, the nurses are there, the doctor. We're born into like a group.
Yes.
When we die, you know, we also have a group. We have family members, we have friends, we have people that are remembering our memories. So it's
Yes.
like we're born in a group and we pass in a group. Why do we live so individually? You
Mm-hmm.
know, and why do we live so alone? Like the concept of family is so powerful. So at least with my view of support groups, it's like the fact that we could feed off of each other's energy. You know, sometimes people think, oh, well, if I go to a support group, I'm just going to be around people that are going through the same stuff as me. It's going to be worse. Actually, it's like you gain so much energy, and
Yes.
even the small positivity that everybody has comes together and builds into something really great,
Yes.
right?
Collective intention. So
What's
powerful.
your view? What's your view on that? What do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Collective intention. You know, I think that that's, you know, it's an unspoken prayer. It's like we come in and we're supporting each other, we're uplifting each other. A lot of times you see somebody else's perspective, and that lights you know, a light bulb in your head, and it's like, wow, I didn't even think about it like that. This is how I see it, and I totally, you know, am in alignment with your belief about this support group aspect. But you know, God has a comprehensive view. Okay, like it's important that we understand that we need each other to get to truth. You know, we need each other to bounce off things. Like, you know, obviously in Western culture we've been conditioned to be very individualistic, and that's not our nature. Like that's not me and yours nature. You know what I mean? So that's what I believe. So the collective intention is, it magnifies our power. Like you said, that little piece of energy that everybody brings in, it's like the X-Men come together and we're powerful. And
Hmm.
we can see how our gifts, you know, impact other people, and how, I mean, it's all about the group. It's all about family, you know, it's all about community.
Yeah, I love it. I love how you said the X-Men come together, right? Because I'm like a big superhero fan. So when you look at it, it's like the Justice League,
Yes.
right? Like all these team, even heroes, even like growing up as a kid, you know, the Ninja Turtles, like the Fantastic Four. It's like
Yeah.
whenever you saw heroes in a team, it's like they were so much more powerful together.
So much more.
You know, so that definitely resonates with me because I think that in providing support groups, I like to do that. What are your thoughts on you're doing this group specifically for women? What are your thoughts on specifying certain groups and detailing why is it important for us to maybe have some open groups where everyone could join and have some groups that are maybe specific to a certain movement or a certain level of development?
Well, I mean, I learned this actually when I was an intern. I was an intern at, I want to say it's Integrity House in Sea Caucus, and all they did was specialized groups for, the men and women who had been incarcerated and were being, transitioned back into the community. Um, I really learned the power of specializing in groups there because it allowed for a focus. It allows for a focus on a specific issue that is a collective issue for the group. It allows us to be focused on a specific issue and to get to the bottom of it. If you come in and it's like free for all, let's all just hang out, we might as well just be having a party. Like, you know what I mean? So there's definitely space for that. But I think, when you go to therapy, there's a goal, right? It's like, I want to improve my relationship. I want to, I want to be able to manage my emotions better. I want to, find the right partner. It's very specialized, very focused.
Yes, perfect. Very well said, right? Because yeah, I think in therapy we try to establish goals for the individual. So creating that focus is very, very important. What are your thoughts about groups now, right? And I think you had asked me the question before as far as like groups in person and virtual groups, right? And I could say that for me, it's I'm gonna be honest, it's not easy for me. I love the energy of having people around, you know, and sometimes having a virtual group, at least at the beginning, it was very difficult for me because I'm not gaining from that energy of everyone. So I still am working through that, to be honest. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think what I do like is the fact that sometimes in groups when we're together, it's hard for everybody to have a space to speak sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And in virtual groups, that's actually easier to do.
Yeah.
You could send like a private message and tell people, okay, you got 3 minutes or whatever. You could highlight different people and what they're saying. And I like that part where a person could be highlighted and could be speaking to the collective, and a lot of more focus could be on them because you're kind of
Yes.
seeing them through a virtual screen. So I do like those aspects of it, and I'm really trying to enhance that and develop from there. But it's been a learning process for me. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I definitely relate to that. The energy is so powerful when you share it in space, in person, super powerful. And that's one of the magical things about this specific group that has been developing. It's like, we didn't only just come to in conversation, we danced together, we moved together, we did yoga together. So, it has completely shifted, going virtual. One thing that has been helpful, I think, for us is maintaining a ritual. So one of the things that we would do when we were in meeting together was to light like a small candle, the little tea candles, and that candle represented like our inner light. It could represent your relationship to your higher power. It could be your intention for the group. It was a very kind of individualized concept, but we all did it together. And so now we continue to do that. We continue to light our own little candle, set our intention. And so we're still trying to maintain those rituals that we had in person. Um, virtually too. So very different. And I think it's still so new for us, right? We're still like, it's like building a house on sand. We're still trying to figure out, like, hold up, where are we landing here? So yeah, so that's been definitely difficult.
The group that you're doing, is it going to be in person? Is it virtual? How
It
is
is
that format?
virtual.
It is
Yeah.
virtual.
Yeah. I've been wanting to just do more courses because this is going to be more so educational slash therapeutic. Like there are,
Mm,
homework assignments. They're going to be like, this is going to be an intensive. So I wanted to before the quarantine, before everything went down, I was really trying to move it into a space so that it's more accessible to more people. And
notice.
yeah, so it's almost like a crash course in
Yeah.
emotional health.
Yeah. I also love that. I also love that with virtual groups is that we can provide access to many other people, right? It's not just maybe somebody in our own neighborhood.
Yes.
It's like you could be having, the single mom that may not be able to get childcare, or you could have the working mom or the working individual who is just able to make it home, and would love to take your course, but getting to the actual space, I think, makes it very difficult, and that's another thing that I love about the virtual groups and what you're doing. You get to really um, give that information to a higher
More
amount of people.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the goal, really, More people need the information. I know people are looking for it. So, I want to be able to access as many people as possible.
What are your thoughts, in this modern field, especially for us, younger therapists, right? Because we're very young, right?
We
We're very young,
are,
very
yes.
young. We have our older colleagues who, I think it becomes more of an obstacle sometimes to use the whole, virtual piece. Um, what are your thoughts about that, right? It's like us as up and coming therapists building our foundation. We've been in the field for years and years, but really we're still young therapists, right? Uh, what's your thoughts about that? What can we provide as that?
I mean, I think that we're a generation of therapists that are really, um, we're really flexible, man. Like we're in a time that, because I think at least for me and you, and I'll definitely speak for myself, that we're like the last of the Mohegans. You know what I'm saying? Like we were not born plugged in, we were the last that like still knew what a cassette was, a cassette player, a flip phone, before phones, before cell phones. We're that generation. And so
Wow.
we are very special in that we're able to connect the new with the old, because my supervisors like are before me, they're like in their 50s and up.
Yep.
And they're really like, maybe trying to get people to come back into the office is very important, because there's resistance when they are like trying to stay on Zoom or trying to stay virtual, right? And really trying to navigate that middle space, because we are the technology age. We're in the time where everything is virtual. And it's definitely a middle space, and it's felt. It's like we got the pressure of the new having to move in this direction, and then we have the pressure of the old, which is like, hey, tradition, in person, this is important. And so we can really play with that and see what's best for our communities. Like, what is best right now? We need to still give out these services regardless. So
I really felt that because it's like the last of the Mohegans. I love it because it's true. We are that middle, right? We are that middle. When I remember having, the first iPhone that came out, right? And now we're like an iPhone 11, right?
crazy.
And right, and we didn't have things like Zoom. Facebook just came out when I was growing up, right?
Yes. Facebook came out when I went to college.
Yeah, exactly.
Like what? There's people that have Instagram at like 10 right now.
Yes,
Like,
yes, yes. And I think that it's so great to do things for me to be a therapist in this time because yeah, I get to mold, I get to fuse the old school mentality, my supervisors, my professors,
yes,
they're very theory oriented, very practical sometimes, very much about like
yes,
the literature and the theories and everything that we read and the vocabulary and so forth. And me coming in as a therapist, I'm like, oh, like I want to do so much more. Like I want to, engage with people differently. I want to go out in nature. I want to be more hands-on.
yes,
And I love what you said about you adding the aspect of even like lighting a candle, doing yoga, adding things
yeah.
to your groups. Why do you do that?
Connection, connection. I think that one of the things that's beautiful about therapy is, how we engage the relationship that we have with our clients. And so trying to maintain these rituals that I did in person in group, I think has really helped maintain the connection that we started with.
Mm, yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. I think that we can connect, especially now in the world that we live in. We have so many other ways to connect, right? And I think we need to continue enforcing and enhancing those ways to connect with other people.
Absolutely.
And I hear this term sometimes. I hear, oh, you should do some talk therapy, right? And I don't know about you. To me, that makes me cringe a little bit, right? Because like to me, I feel like we're doing so much more than talking together. Like I learn from my clients all the time.
Yes.
And my clients that get to come in, I don't know, to me it just feels so much more than just sharing words. Like yes, it's the power of words, but the energy, the intention, the things, the practice things that we do, things as active as doing some yoga, doing some breathing exercise. I'm doing so much more than just talking, you know. And
Absolutely.
what are your thoughts about that? I mean, when I hear it, it makes me feel a certain way. But what do you think about it?
We're talking, we're healing, we are learning, we are being exposed to ourselves, we're realizing ourselves. And I will say that, my methodology is very much rooted in connecting with a spiritual component as well. And so when you're talking about talking and us working through things and healing, I see that in the spiritual realm as like opening doors, as like, when we get into the nitty gritty, when I get vulnerable, I am exchanging with, something higher than myself. And that to me is something that you can't, we can't see until we get that new job or like that new boo or like whatever the case is, the material. But it's always a relationship. It's always a relationship. And so absolutely, absolutely, it's more than what it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, when you are in groups, how is it different? And can groups, in your opinion, can groups replace individual therapy, right? Or can groups replace? Is groups enough? Like what's your thoughts about that as far as the importance of groups? What's the foundation of it for you?
Well, I will say that group is better than nothing. I will say that group and individual is excellent. You know, you know, personally love being part of a group. I also know that there are some things that I need to deal with on my own. I believe that some of this work is done in community and some of it is done in our own inner community. And so all of them can be beneficial. But if people are not comfortable with individual therapy and just want to do group, I think that that's so much better than not doing anything, for sure.
How about people that are uncomfortable with doing group because it may be a hard enough process for them to open up individually, to now have to do it in a group could create a lot more anxiety for them?
Yes.
What would you say to that?
Well, I will say that I think that's where individual therapy can really help bridge that gap. You know, I think the idea is that, you know, we are wanting to be more communal, we are wanting to be more in healthy relationship. And a lot of times individual therapy helps us to relate to others better. And once we're in it enough, we may actually become more comfortable to be in a group space with others. You know, it's just healing magnified, man. It's healing magnified in a group. Magnified. I mean, your wishes, right, for yourself, your dreams, your visions with others. This is why prayer is so important, and people talk about prayer. Like, it's very similar.
Where your group specifically highlights a word, a holistic journey for emotional wellness, right? What's in your terms, what's your concept of it being holistic? What does that mean for our viewers?
When I think holistic, I think mind, body, spirit. So we go through this process where we first start with the mind and we check where's my thinking, where do I stand right now? How do I identify, you know, my thought processes, and are they benefiting me? Are they hurting me? Right? Then we move into the body, which is, you know, this is where we do the yoga. This is where we get into our body. This is where we talk with women about our reproductive health, our wombs, our womb wellness, you know, connecting with our bodies. So many of us have been so traumatized that we're so disconnected from ourselves, you know. So we go through that. We talk about food. We talk about nutrition. We talk about, you know, what is it that we're putting in our body, you know. We look at our body as a temple, and how are we treating that temple? It's sacred. And then we move into the spiritual aspect, which is really me connecting with my heart, me connecting with my you know, my beliefs, my spirituality. And that's looking, you know, that comes to me in terms of ritual. And that's why the group is called Mind Body Cycles instead of Mind Body Spirit, because, you know, in cycles is all of our blueprints. It's how plants grow. It's my menstrual cycle. It's the moon cycles. It's all of the things that go in this ebb and flow. And it allows me to know, like, oh, there's times for like rest, and there's times for like heavy duty work. And I want to know when those times are, because I can be more effective and productive when I honor my rhythm and the rhythm that's out here.
Wow. That's wow.
It's just deep. This is like my baby. Like, I have
that is absolutely deep. Wow. Can you add to that a little more about your specific, your journey, right? And why does it, doing this group for women, why is it so important to you doing it for women itself, right? I think for me, providing groups, I grew up with a big family. Well, not a big, I grew up with a really small family, but to me it was big, right? Because it was 7 of us, right? So, but I grew up with a really small family, and I grew up having a really tight group of friends, and just me growing up, I love working in teams, and I love working together. I think at first it was probably just an insecurity of, can I do things on my own? And then as I grew up, it was like obtaining the security of kind of vibing with everyone and taking on that leadership role from everyone. And I was like, wow, like I can do this, and I could do things with other people. And then I started loving that process of not just leading others, but being a leader within leaders. Like that's really how I felt. You
Yes,
know,
yes,
what
yes.
was your journey like? What was your process like?
Oh man. Well, in my experience, my personal experience was that I was raised by women. Like women have been in my life, like, heavy, have been leaders in my life. And I realized very young that a lot of the women who I looked up to made a lot of really questionable choices in their life when it came to, romantic relationships, their time. And I saw a lot of suffering and I saw a lot of struggling. And so I kind of was like, there's something going on here and I don't know what it is. And I want to know what it is. So my focus became on women because I realized, like, I'm a woman and I understand us. Like, I am coming from a personal experience and I want to be able to have this conversation that is so, I want to say so specific to women in a special way. Like when I look at emotional wellness, and I say emotional wellness, it's in the literature, it's more like emotional intelligence, or we're talking about emotional quotient. And to me, many people who have really written about this, the majority have been men, which I think is very interesting because I don't think there's enough women leaders talking about emotional health for women. Like this is something that I think is really important for us to be in communication about. I'm not against men, sharing their expertise and talking about this, but a man can never understand fully 100% what a woman experiences and what we go through. And so I respect men and I say, yes, men have very specific things that they should specialize in and talk amongst each other. And there are some things that we also, as women, need to specialize and talk amongst ourselves.
Wow. It sounds like it was a very specific journey for you as well, seeing women grow up and growing up with women. Um, I think I had the privilege, really, the privilege I grew up with a single mom, and everybody in my family was women. I had, two uncles, but it was my two aunts, my grandmother, and my mom. And those are the individuals that from like to like age 11, I was probably around the most, and seeing, being in that experience, I think it resonates with me what you said, because I think it is a different experience to be a man and then to be a woman. Like I did not understand what their processes were. They would send me to the store to buy pads and things like that, and I'm like, oh, what's this for, right? Like I was never explained what like women were going through. And I think growing up, I never even understood like where women were in our society. And all of a sudden I started growing up and I started understanding women's suffrage. And I was like, wow, really? Hold on. Like I grew up with really powerful women. Like I can't believe that this was a thing. Right. So that resonates with me because I then also started understanding, and thankfully I had a great man in my life who was a father figure to me, who was my uncle, and he definitely showed me that, hey, there's a whole other realm to this, and that's being a man. And you know he was always very, I don't know if he did it on purpose or not, but I didn't hear from him, I didn't hear, well, you're a man, so you're supposed to do this. Like I didn't grow up hearing that. And I think from my family, the women in my life, I grew up hearing that, like, you should not expect a woman to do this or that. You should know how to cook and clean and do everything that society has imposed on it being a woman thing. That was really powerful for me growing up.
That's
With
amazing.
women. So that resonated with me when you said that, because I think it's something that we need to really speak about, you know, like,
Yes,
women have gone a
especially
very
when it
long
comes
way.
to our mental health and our psychological
Yes.
processes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, women have come a very, very long way with women's suffrage and understanding aspects of domestic violence and understanding aspects of authority. You know, I think that this group that you're doing, super necessary. Super necessary. What has been your experience with working with the women that you have already worked with? Because you've done this group before. Is this your first time doing it in a virtual platform?
So, yes and no. So the original group has been in person. The original group was actually open to all women, but it was specialized in that we were focusing on our cycles, right? And we did dance and we did movement and we did a lot of work together. Then I actually, in that group, and you know this because you're the group guru out here of North Hudson, that group actually ended up creating a mini group within that self in that group, because there were women who, because it was an open group, there would be women that would come. They would come a couple times, maybe they would come once and they wouldn't come again. But there were women who came every single group, almost every single group. And they became kind of like co-leaders in that space, right? So those women, I pretty much focused on, pulled them out. It was like 6 of them. And we created the second phase, which was going to be the original intensive of this program. And I did that with them. I did the 3 months. We met in person. We kind of went through the three mind body cycles, sections. And then that group actually ended up creating its own group in a way where they're like, hey, we're the women that are like on the outside of the therapist seat in group. And we are healing and we have something to say. And we also want to contribute to our community in this way and hold space for other women. So now that group has become a group that is now being formed. We have a collective and they are starting to create their own workshops, their own webinars, and offer their self as leaders in the community to offer different programming and different groups. So it has really grown, and it was like a little seed, and now it's growing into this like beautiful plant that is offering more services. We're branching out, and it's really in its beginning phases. So super, super exciting. But that group specifically, we still meet.
Wow.
Every 2 weeks we have a group. And so we had to transition from in-person to virtual. And so we've been, so the idea is that this is kind of like an introductory program, this course, and then you can access the plethora of groups and things that we're going to be offering as a collective. Now, these women are not therapists, so they are not claiming to provide therapy services, but they have a lot of gifts. They have information. They are willing to hold space for others. They've been learning how to do that as we've grown together. And it's becoming its own living, breathing thing.
Wow. Wow. That development and seeing that development, I'm sure that was incredible for you.
Man, it's my baby.
Yeah.
It's my baby.
What would you say? What are your thoughts about how this group can also speak to different people of different cultures, the LGBTQ community? You know, how does this group, or how can this group be inclusive for them as well?
So very interesting that you say that, because I personally believe that, you know, people really need to get very educated in these kinds of specializations, because it's a very new frontier, a very new landscape. And, you know, I think that support groups can be really helpful in this time because of that. And this is one thing that I really think we have to give ourselves the opportunity to stumble to the truth. Like, I need to talk and sort out all the stuff that's going on without judgment. You know, I need to get to the truth of how I feel. And I do that by talking. I do that by writing. I do that by exploring myself. And it's very helpful in community because I can get feedback, you know, like, hey, maybe that's not, you know, that's not the best way to say it. Or maybe you want to be more respectful or mindful, right? So when we're talking about specialization groups, like these women that are in this space, they're public health professionals, you know, they're yoga teachers. They are all women of color. They are all identify as Latinx, and you know, are really wanting to be inclusive. You know, there is an importance in
Can
specialization.
you tell us a little bit about what can women expect when joining this group, as far as frequency, any information that you could give, a length of time, whatever information you're able to give about the group? What can they expect?
Okay, so number one, I'm having an info session about all the details of the group. It's a free info session on Monday at 8:30, Monday coming up. And in this info session, I am going to be sharing all the details about pricing, your investment in terms of time. I will say an overview that we meet for 3 months, and it's going to be every 2 weeks. So it's 6 sessions in total, and it's about an hour and a half to 2 hours per session.
Okay, nice. How can they reach out to you? How can they get more information or join the meeting that you have on Monday?
So many ways. So they can DM me at Medicine Within. That's my Instagram. They can email me at thecreativetherapist@gmail.com, which is also accessible on my Instagram. There's just a button that you can email me there directly. You can also go on my website, which is thecreativetherapist.org. You can let Jeff know that you want to come through, and he will let me know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So they're very easy, very easy. I'm just sending out the Zoom link to whoever is sharing their interest.
If they miss Monday's informational, are you going to be able to have another one? Is that in the works, or can they just
Yes.
get the information from you personally?
So it's a possibility. I'm open to creating another info session. I'm also open to talking to people individually about their capacity to join the group. Definitely can get on a call, you know, and just give them the rundown if they can't make the info session. I am considering doing another one. The group is going to start the last Monday of the month. So that's in about a little over 2 weeks from now. And so, you know, we're just trying to get as many people to just know about it as possible.
Great. Veronica, once again, I just want to say thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you so much for providing this group. Any final messages that you have, maybe specifically speaking to women that have heard this whole session and have really thought, wow, I thought it was amazing and incredible what you're doing. Any final messages to them, and being comfortable with reaching out and being part of this movement in this journey?
I would say that, you know, I think right now, one of the messages that keeps coming to me is think for yourself, you know, think for yourself, like really give yourself a quiet enough time, a reflective of enough time to just get connected with what is my truth in this, you know, without the expectation, the ideas, the thoughts of others, because right now we're in a very shifting time, and a lot of people are going to be, I want to say, swindled into a lot of different directions. And so this group is a great way to make time for yourself, to discover and be more in alignment with your own truth, with the respect of the community that's out here, that's doing, you know, all different kinds of things, all different kinds of work, and allowing for us to be in a position in that work that is true to us. So come through, sis. We need you. We
Yes.
need your star power right now.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so, so much, Veronica, for joining me again. And hopefully I'll have you as a guest many, many more times in the future because, man, talking to you about what we're doing in this community is so important. So thank
Yes,
you so much for joining me today, Veronica. Thank you once again.
definitely.
And to our community, thank you so much for tuning in. We have a whole series of Empower Hour sessions with many different therapists. We will continue to do this for our community, especially during this time, but then ongoing in the future, because at the end of the day, we really want to touch as many lives as possible for the development of each other, because success is really greatest when you do it together. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for checking us out. Okay, bye-bye, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.